Veterans Stadium in Philadelphia. Today, the Mets take on the Philadelphia Phillies. Mets Baseball 91 is brought to you by Bud Light. Everything else is just a light. By your local area Midas dealers. Remember, nobody beats Midas. Nobody. By Macy's, we're part of your life. And by New York Telephone, who reminds you that we're all connected. And by the New York Daily News, New York's hometown paper. By Manufacturers Hanover, where your money has power. And by RC Cola. Pitching for the Mets today, David Cohen on the mound with a record of 13-14, an earned run average of 3.42. And on the mound for the Phillies, Andy Ashby with a record of 1-4, an earned run average of 5.59. Well, here it is, the final results of the National League. In the National League West, Atlanta winning yesterday, the Dodgers losing to San Francisco, and Atlanta has won the National League West. Leading the Dodgers by 2 games, San Diego, San Francisco, Cincinnati, and then Houston. In the National League East, Pittsburgh, of course, on top. They have a 13-game lead over St. Louis. Philadelphia clinching 3rd place with their win yesterday against the Mets. Chicago in 4th place, the Mets in 5th, and the Montreal Expos. Well, hi, everybody. I'm Ralph Kiner, along with Frank Cash and Tim McCarver on special assignment for the playoffs in the National League. And, Frank, a disappointing 5th place for the New York Mets.
Yeah, still possible that we would be 4th, depending upon how Chicago does today. But regardless, a completely disappointing year for the Mets after 8 very good years.
8 good years, and, of course, you can't always be on top. And, of course, the Mets have been either 1st or 2nd for all those years until this year, and actually not too far away from 3rd, but losing to the Philadelphia Phillies.
Yeah, true, but after 1st or 2nd, the other places seem to lose their meanings. One thing you can say about the Mets' collapse this year, and I guess that's a good word, is that it was a real team effort. It wasn't done by any one faction of the team. I think I said somewhere around mid-year that the fielders weren't fielding, the hitters weren't hitting, and the pitchers weren't pitching, which seemed like an assumption at that time. But now when we look at the record, we find that the Mets finished next to last in batting in the National League. They finished next to last in fielding in the National League. They finished somewhere in the middle of the pack, 5th, I believe, in pitching with ERA. We only had one pitcher, one of our starters, which has been our pride and joy, our pitching staff. Only one starter that was over 500 this year, and that was Doc Gooden, who we all know lost the last part of the season to injury. Same thing with offense, with the exception of Hojo, who had a brilliant offensive year, and Keith Miller, who has come on strong. Everybody else had a substandard year.
You know, one of the interesting things, Atlanta, of course, winning in the Western Division of the National League, last place last year, so it can be turned around in a hurry.
Yeah, you know, on this Sunday we can say that it proved the old biblical saying about the last shall be first and the first shall be 5th, which is what we may be. But in 2 of the races, which makes it very interesting, in the American League West, where Minnesota finished last year and won this year, Atlanta, which finished last in the National League West last year, came back and won this year. First time in the history of baseball that in 2 divisions that teams who finished last the previous year have come on to win the division.
Well, the last game of the season will be coming your way, and we'll be back to give you that ball game. The Mets against the Philadelphia Phillies, and that'll be right after this message from Bud Light. And at Veterans Stadium, the final game of the year, the Mets against the Philadelphia Phillies. The Mets have won 10 of the 17 games played, and for Philadelphia, Andy Ashby will be on the mound. He has a record of 1-4 and a run average of 5.59. He has worked just 37 innings, given up 34 hits, striking out 22 and walking 18.
All right, and here are the lineups for the New York Mets. Keith Miller will play second base and lead off. Hitting in the second spot is Templeton, who will play shortstop. Garry Templeton. Hojo Johnson will bat third and play right field. Kevin McReynolds will bat fourth and play left field. Mark Carrion in center field, batting fifth and sixth spot. Greg Jeffries playing at third base, followed by Chris Donalds, the young rookie, and batting in the seventh spot and playing first base. Charlie O'Brien will do the catching today, and on the mound for the Mets will be David Cone.
And the defense for Philadelphia, it'll be Chamberlain, Castillo, and Murphy in the outfield. Hollins, Batiste, Morandini, and Jordan in the infield. The catcher will be Doug Lindsey. Both sides playing some different type players here with this final game coming your way. The Mets have won 5 of the 8 games here in Vet Stadium. And in this ball game, the umpires will be Ed Rapuano behind home plate. Dana DeMuth will be at first base. Bruce Fleming will be the umpire at second. And Greg Bonet, the umpire, at third.
Ralph, there were some last changes in the Mets lineup, and you see here that Darrell Boston is going to lead off.
And he's going to hit it out of the park.
He's going to hit it against the fence. Funny, Darrell was going around those bases like he thought the ball was out of here.
And it ends up as a 3-base hit as Boston hits the first pitch of the ball game. And you're right, Frank. He ran the bases like he thought it was out of the ballpark for a home run. He's hit just 3 this year. He hadn't had a whole lot of practice.
Yeah, he certainly turned it off instead of turning it on. Batting in second slot here is Keith Miller, to be followed by Hojo Johnson. Then Kevin McReynolds, Greg Jeffries, Chris Donalds. Jeff Gardner will be at shortstop. Charlie O'Brien will be the catcher, and David Cone the pitcher.
And Ashby with the curveball on his second pitch of the ball game after the fastball was hit against the fence for the 3-base hit. And Miller takes for ball 1.
Miller, one of the few Mets that's really having a very good year this year. He's hitting .270, has come on strongly in the end of the season.
Miller hitting at that .270 mark with 3 home runs, 21 runs batted in. And he takes into account 1 ball and 1 strike. As you look at Keith Miller playing a lot of second base here in the last part of the season, does he fit into your plans for next year as a second baseman?
We have plans for Keith Miller every year. A couple of times we've given him positions. Injuries have been the real bugaboo.
And right there, he singles in a run as he now makes the turn and goes for the double and gets the 2-base hit standing up. So Ashby has given up a triple and a double and going for the cycle here.
Mm-hmm. Andy Ashby is really a young pitcher. He's 6'5", 180 pounds. He pitched mostly at Scranton last year, or earlier this year, where he was 11-11 and had a 3.46 ERA. In other words, he was a successful pitcher at the AAA level. He came up late. It looks like the rain is starting to fall here in the stadium, although I talked to the weather people just shortly and a short time ago, and they assured there would be no rain today.
Sort of that kind of a year, isn't it?
It's that kind of a year, Ralph.
And now the batter is Howard Johnson, and Howard with a big personal goal there. He's going to lead the league in home runs. That's a foregone conclusion, but he has a chance to lead the league in runs batted in. He has 116. He's tied for Will Clark at 116. If he does lead the league in RBIs, he will be the first switch hitter to ever lead the league in runs batted in as a National League player. And he takes that pitch, and the count at 1 ball and 1 strike. He's had a tough series. He's left 11 men on base in this series, so he's had every opportunity in the world to really bust open the RBI.
That's right. Friday night alone, he could have won the batting, the RBI title. He left 9 runners stranded.
2 in yesterday's ball game. He has driven in 1 in this series, and he's hitting at .259. So he's got a big RBI sitting out there at second base if he can get it, and he swings and misses. He's had a tough series as he has struck out a total of 6 times. Make that 7 times in this series. In the first 2 games of this series, 7 strikeouts. And he's had 2 base hits in 10 at-bats.
Knowing what kind of competitor he is, you can see he's pressing. He really wants to so badly.
And he pops up the fastball. It's back out of play, so he'll get another shot. 1-2 the count.
Just want to tell you, Ralph, you're in charge of foul balls. You were an outfielder, and I'm sure you can handle them, so that one came preciously close.
I forgot to bring my glove. Howard Johnson will be our post-game guest on Kiner's Corner. He'll be a ghost, all right, after this season is over. He's on his way.
This whole season was one of ghosts and goblins.
But Howard Johnson really having an outstanding year for the Mets. He has dominated the power positions in hitting in the National League. He leads in extra base hits with 76. He'll win that. He leads in slugging at 538. He'll win that. And in total bases, he's in second position, 2 bases back of Pendleton, who's also having an outstanding year. And of course, he'll lead in home runs with 38. And he can lead all by himself in RBIs, but he swings and misses. So another attempt by Howard Johnson to get that RBI, and now he has left 12 men on base in this series. Boy, it's been a struggle.
Here's that pitch again. It's a breaking ball. Right down Broadway, too. Sinky looks like almost like a split finger.
His 8th strikeout in this 3-game series, and that'll bring up Kevin McReynolds, who's featured this series with a 3-run home run. They put the Mets up 4-2 in a game that they eventually lost. That's losing 5-4 in the first game of the series and 1-0 in the second. Phillies have dominated 1-run ball games in the National League this year. They've had 63, and that pitch is in for a called strike. They have won 36 and lost 27 1-run ball games. They also have been involved in extra inning ball games. They have been in 25 extra inning games, winning 16 and losing 9. The Phillies will finish 3rd in the National League. And they turned it around under Jim Fregosi, who took over as manager early in the season. That pitch fouled off, a fastball for strike 2. Fregosi with a record of 74 and 74. It says it all for the Philadelphia Phillies right there. McReynolds hits it in the air to center. Castillo, the center fielder, and he has an easy play. Bagged up at second is Miller. He goes to third, and the throw, a good one, but not quite in time. Good throw by Castillo. As Miller takes a chance and goes over to third. Can't make that first or last out at third base. One of the axioms of this game.
This young outfielder gets rid of the ball very quickly. Seen him with the Phillies. He came over here in the trade for Roger McDowell. Reminds me that we tried to trade for his contract some years ago when Jesse Orozco was going to go to L.A. and they refused to put him in the deal. They thought he was one of their outstanding young prospects. Eventually came over here, as I said, in the Roger McDowell deal.
Julio Castillo, the center fielder in this ball game, as Greg Jeffries takes his first pitch for ball 1. Miller, the runner at third base. Mets leading 1-0, and the pitch high for a ball. And it's ball 2. Jeffries hitting .270 on the year. 9 home runs, 60 runs batted in. He has really had a disappointing season in spite of the .270 average. And this went up the middle, a base hit. And the Mets will take the lead by a score of 2-0 as Jeffries gets his 61st RBI.
Here's that play again. Ball's inside. Jeffrey goes with the ball. It's right up the middle. I'd say that's an AstroTurf base hit. On grass, second baseman may have fielded it and may or may not have thrown him out.
And that'll bring up Chris Dowell's one of the promising young players the Mets have brought up from Tidewater, hitting .224, but showing some ability in that pitch in the dirt. But Lindsey blocking the ball and keeping the runner at first.
I do believe this is Lindsey's first major league game. He shows up with a 0-0 batting average. I don't know whether he's been used for an inning or so. I couldn't find it.
That's his first at bat when he comes up in the second inning or first inning, whenever it will be. So it is his first ball game. And this one gets by him, and moving down to second on the pitch is Greg Jeffries. We'll see how that's scored.
I was just going to mention that Lindsey was voted the outstanding defensive catcher in the Eastern League this year. We had a team in the Eastern League.
It's being scored a wild pitch.
And ball bounces by the catcher.
Didn't do a good job of shifting in front of that as he tried to backhand the play. And now the pitch to Donalds is swung out and missed. 2-1. Donald's a good prospect, but being played at first base, there's no future there for him that I can see.
I don't think so. He is by trade a third baseman. We played him some at second down in Tidewater. He also played shortstop in spring training. I'm not going to suggest that he's a major league shortstop, but he can fill in there.
And it's up the middle for another base hit. Jeffries will score. The ball is bobbled by Castillo, and the Mets have taken a 3-0 lead as Donalds gets the RBI, his fifth for the Mets.
There's that swing again, Ralph, and a good swing. This young man hit 300 at Tidewater this year.
He has a good swing. There's no doubt about that.
He comes right up the middle.
He fought off those tough left-handers in Pittsburgh.
I was impressed by the way he went against those left-handers. Of course, when he hit 300 at Tidewater, he played every day. He played against left and right-handed pitching. No reason why he shouldn't do it in the major leagues.
Now the batter, Jeff Gardner, another newcomer for the Mets. Gardner hitting 182. Has no power at all. He's got no home runs. 1 run batted in.
He does put the bat on the ball. He'll get a runner across. We'll see how he does here, but usually he can get the runner, move the runner. He is probably the best defensive second baseman in our system. Brilliant defensive player. Been in the system for 6 years. Played at every level. Done a good job at every level.
Talking about Jeff Gardner, the shortstop in today's final ball game. Donald's a very short lead at first base. Ooh, almost hit him. And Ashby with the count now, 1 ball and 2 strikes. Earlier this year, Ashby was brought up to pitch, and he struck out the side of 9 pitches, a very unusual thing. And Jim Fregosi said he's going places. The next day, they sent him back to the minors.
Well, that's where he was going. He was going back to Scranton.
And that pitch gets away from the catcher, and Lindsey having some problems. Donald's holding at first base.
There's that pitch again. It is inside, but that ball should have been caught.
Might be having a little bit of a nervous problem in his first game in the major leagues. Probably never has seen this many people in the ballpark in his career, and this ball hit foul down the left side. 2-2 the count. Ashby struck out the side of 9 pitches. It was the first time that ever happened. Philadelphia Philly pitcher. They date back a long, long time. And this pitch swung on and missed. And that will end the inning. 2 strikeouts, but the Mets pick up 3 runs on 4 hits, and they leave 1. And the score at the end of 1/2 inning. The Mets 3 and the Philadelphia Phillies coming up. And here's a word from the New York Daily News. David Cohn on the mound for the Mets, trying to even his record at 14-14, an earned run average of 3.42. He has worked 223.2 innings, and he leads the National League in strikeouts with his 222.
Here's the offensive lineup for the Phillies. They'll lead off with young shortstop Ken Batiste. He will be followed by the young second baseman Mickey Morandino. Then Wes Chamberlain. Dale Murphy will be in the cleanup spot, followed by Dave Hollins, who has played so well against the Mets in this series. Then Ricky Jordan, Braulio Castillo will be the center fielder and bat 8th. Doug Lindsey, the second base, the catcher, will bat in the 8th spot. And, of course, Ashby, the pitcher, will be in the 9th spot.
And the defense for the New York Mets, it's McReynolds, Boston, and Johnson in the outfield. Jeffries, Gardner, Miller, and Donalds in the infield, third to first. And O'Brien will be doing the catching. A little story about O'Brien catching instead of Todd Hundley. Trying to keep Todd Hundley's rookie status open. And so he is not playing as Batiste goes after his first pitch at strike 1.
This is a very interesting young man, and really the Phillies shortstop of the future. He's what baseball used to be all about. He was drafted by them in the 3rd round of the draft. He's out of New Orleans. He's played at every level within their system. The scouting report on him, incidentally, is that he's a solid hitter. He's got some pop in his bat. He should improve, has been improving each year. He has above average arm. He's got great range. He's got good speed. He is a threat to steal a base. Back in '88, one of his early years in there, he stole 100 bases in organized baseball. He will be the everyday shortstop of the Phillies, certainly next year and in the years to come.
Played for Scranton Wilkes-Barre and hit .292 with 1 home run, 41 RBIs, and 18 stolen bases in 122 games. One ball, 2 strikes the count. And Batiste goes after it and is struck out. So David Cone with his 223rd strikeout this year.
Here's that pitch again, and it's high and out of the strike zone. He chases it. Another strikeout for Mr. Cone.
And now the batter will be Mickey Morandini, and he takes the first pitch for ball 1. Morandini hitting .248. 1 home run, 20 runs batted in. And the fastball fouled back out of play. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Another reason why you should have brought your glove, Ralph. I think they're honing in on us here.
Got to get by this game. Make it through the year. You know, amazingly, this is my 30th year as a broadcaster, and I've been hit only by 1 foul ball in the broadcast booth. That was by George Foster.
Is that right?
He got me right in the arm. Wasn't looking. In the old ballpark, Connie Mack Stadium, we used to broadcast right down about where the top of the backstop is, and it was really lethal. As you take a look at our broadcast area, right back to home, and this ball plowed back over our heads.
It's coming our way again.
They're going for you, Frank.
You know, we were talking about Batiste being the Philadelphia shortstop of the future. Here is their second baseman of the future, Mickey Morandino. He broke in this year and did a very credible job. As you mentioned, he's hitting .248.
And the appeal for the strike by O'Brien, the Mets catcher, and Greg Bonet, the third base umpire, said he did not swing. So it goes to a full count, 3-2. And the fastball, ball 4, close pitch, but Cone does not get the call, and he walks his first batter. That'll bring up Wes Chamberlain, the left fielder, and his acquisition was through a general manager's mistake with the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Well, I hate to say that, but that's the truth. You put him on a list where people could claim him. I think I'd tell no tales out of school when I tell you that the Mets claimed him. But Philadelphia was beneath us in the standings last year, and their claim was given first consideration other than ours. He was claimed by a whole host of teams, though, and I'm not sure that he would have gotten down, even if Philadelphia hadn't claimed him, that he would have got down as far as where we were in the race at that time.
You were second at that time.
Yeah, he's a ball player with a lot of promise. You know, he's a good hitter. He's got shown some power in the minors. It looks like he's got alley power up here in the majors, but he's a solid ball player.
Hitting .240 for the year. He does have 13 home runs and 50 runs batted in. And he has been up 379 times. And that fastball handcuffs him, and he's behind it, and he fouls it off, 2-1.
Had him inside outing the ball.
Wes Chamberlain in the Pittsburgh Pirate organization.
Here's that pitch once again. Goes inside on him, and as I said, he inside out the ball. A foul ball.
And it goes to 3-1, so Cone behind after walking Morandini. 3-1 to Wes Chamberlain. David with a record of 13-14 this year. Disappointing year for David Cone. So many people say he has the best stuff in the National League, and you expect 20 wins out of someone with that kind of ability. There goes the runner, and the pitch is again fouled off. Of course, David had that one great year, Frank, 20-3.
And it's really unfair to keep judging him by that standard, because nobody, or very, very seldom, even in the annals of baseball, do you see those kind of years. Doc Gooden had one year for us, but what a brilliant year that was. And the young man does have brilliant stuff. And I have to agree with the majority that you just alluded to when you said that a lot of people think that he has the best stuff in the major leagues.
And he proves it there as he picks up a strikeout.
Runner was going on the pitch. Charlie had trouble getting the ball out of his glove. The runners advance. The runner advances. Here's that pitch again. It's old-fashioned fastball. Overmatched him.
David in 1988 was 20-3, the sixth best winning percentage in baseball history for 20-game winners. So that was his banner year, and as you pointed out, Frank, you don't look for him to ever do that again. Only 5 other pitchers have had better winning percentages than he. As you look at Dale Murphy. Murphy hitting .254. 18 home runs, 81 runs batted in, and a swing and a miss.
Murph's obviously coming near the end of the line. He's got another year here on a contract with Philadelphia. I don't know whether they would play him every day next year. I suppose that they would, but what a wonderful ball player he has been down through the last couple of decades.
Murphy with 396 Major League home runs. He's 26th in the all-time list. He's hit 32 of those home runs against the New York Mets. One ball, one strike to count. He's changed his batting stance considerably. And he goes fishing on that one on the good curveball. He's moved up on the plate considerably. Used to be way away. Right now he's got that front foot right on the plate. You see him move away from the plate when he makes that stride. He's got those long arms, and that's a problem. 1-2 pitch. Again, the curveball for a ball, 2-2.
I would think he'd be vulnerable inside to the fastball. I wouldn't want to throw in the ball in the outside corner where he can extend those arms, because he still has the power ability to get the ball out of this ballpark and get it out quickly.
Two balls, 2 strikes to count. And ball 3, so it goes to a full count. You had, in my mind, one of the great hitters of all time, who stood right on top of that plate, Frank Robinson, when you were the general manager of the Baltimore Orioles.
Well, that's true, and I think the best year I've ever seen a single ball player have was in 1966 when Frank won the Triple Crown.
He was on his way to his second Triple Crown the next year, and he got hurt.
He did get hurt, and we had said, you know, there have been years since there was a Triple Crown winner, particularly in the American League, and he won it in '66, and everybody said it won't happen for another 20 years. 1967, Pal Yastrzemski came from Boston and won the Triple Crown the very next year. But 2 marvelous ball players.
3 balls, 2 strikes. Mets leading in the game 3-0. And again, the foul ball, so it stays at 3-2. Frank Robinson probably one of the greatest trades that ever was made, and it was your trade, right?
Well, Lee McPhail had really set up the trade, and when we got to take over, he called in Harry Dalton, who was going to be my baseball person, and he told us that we could make this trade if we wanted to, and Harry and I talked about it. Harry very much wanted to make it, and we went ahead and made it.
Milt Pappas?
For Milt Pappas, and at that time, while in retrospect it seems like an easy decision to make, it is never very easy to give up your absolute best pitcher, which we had to do at that time. So it did take some thought before making the trade, but it was a wonderfully good trade for the Baltimore Orioles.
Swing and a miss, so Cohn strikes out the side as he gives up one walk. And on his way to the National League strikeout crown, the Mets leading after one by a score of 3-0. And here's a message from Midas. Back here at Veterans Stadium, and a football game played here last night, Frank.
Yeah, Temple played Penn State. Temple gave them a little bit of scare early on, but Penn State come back to win it. The remarkable thing about that is that we finished a baseball game here at 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon or so. They had a football game here at 9 o'clock last night. We now are back playing baseball here today. You can see the football configuration from this high camera that they're showing you.
And it's Charlie O'Brien to lead it off for the Mets. The Mets leading 3-0 with 3 quick runs. And O'Brien batting at 189 to lead it off here in the second. O'Brien with 2 home runs, 14 RBIs. Andy Ashby is on the mound for Philadelphia. And the youngster with a fastball for a strike. It's 1-1.
Ashby looks to me like a pitcher that could get better with a few more years experience. He's been a successful pitcher in the minor leagues, particularly the last 2 years at Reading and at Scranton in the Philadelphia chain.
Ashby 11-11 in his minor league year, and that pitch in the dirt, and the count 2 balls and 2 strikes. 161 1/3 innings at Scranton Wilkes-Barre. He struck out 113 batters while walking just 60. And the count goes to 3-2. 3-2 to Charlie O'Brien, who has struggled with the bat through his first 2 years with the New York Mets. And he has struck out. You're watching Mets baseball, 91 on WWOR-TV, Universal 9, Secaucus, New Jersey.
I love the way you roll out that Secaucus, New Jersey.
That'll bring up David Cohn. Well, the Mets have been carried on Universal 9 since 1962. They're 30th year carrying the Mets games on Channel 9. As Cohn takes for ball 1. Cohn hitting 130, has 9 hits this year.
As you well know, Cohn is no out up there. He can make contact. He'll get some base hits.
Missed the fastball, and it's 1 ball and 1 strike. He led the league in the National League among pitchers with the most base hits a couple of years ago with 18. And he fouls off the fastball. He is the only Mets pitcher as a pinch hitter to get a base hit.
I was just going to mention that he is. And he loves to hit. Sometimes you see him when the game is on the line. It gets tight down there and we're running out of pinch hitters. He'll get up and grab a bat and wants to let the manager know that he's available.
And he bounces this one to the shortstop, Batiste. Nice throw over to first base for the out. Speaking of shortstops, when you were with the Baltimore Orioles, you had one that might be considered the best fielding shortstop ever.
Mark Belanger. Hard to imagine anybody better. In that organization in '66, Aparicio was the shortstop. Behind him in the minor leagues, we had Davy Johnson. Had been a shortstop, made him a second baseman in the major leagues. Behind him, Bobby Grich. Behind him, several other good shortstops. Bobby Baylor, who now manages in the Toronto chain, was another shortstop. Kiko Garcia was another shortstop in that organization. From top to bottom, they had outstanding shortstops. Mark Belanger, as you mentioned, probably the best of them all.
And Darrell Boston with the count of 1 ball and no strikes. Darrell tripled his first time up off the fence in right field. Scored the first run of the ball game. The Mets leading 3-0 in this final game of the year. Boston again doing a good job as a utility outfielder. Picked up on unconditional waivers, and he lines this one to right field where Murphy makes the play, and that will retire the side. Well hit ball, but turned into an out. And the score at the end of 1.5 innings, the Mets 3 and the Phillies nothing. Now here's a message from Macy's. Well, if you've ever wondered what Lindsey Nelson did with his jackets after he got through wearing them, here's one of Lindsey's old jackets being passed on to a clown.
Now tell me, Ralph, you are the fashion play. What kind of slacks would you wear with a jacket like
You could put anything on. Anything you want. Got a matching tie. I like that. Of course, the chapeau is awfully nice. As we go to the bottom of the second, the Mets leading 3-0, and Dave Hollins will lead it off. Hollins hitting .297. I like the shoes. Hollins a switch hitter and showing good power from both sides, and he rips this one up the alley in left center. It'll be at least a double. Austin plays it. Hollins on his way to third decides not to go and holds up at second base for the double. So Cohen, who struck out the side in the first, gives up a double here in the second.
There's that pitch again. It looks like it's right down the middle to me. Yeah, it is right down over the plate. He extends those arms and get a switch hitter, switch hitting third baseman. Another one of the Philadelphia regulars. I think next year he'll be playing third base every day, and along with Morandini and Tim Destis will be the crux of the infield for Philadelphia.
And now the batter, Ricky Jordan, first baseman. He's been a disappointment, hitting .274 this year, but showing a lot of promise in his rookie year. This year he's had 9 home runs and 49 RBIs. And the fastball for a ball. 2 balls, no strikes. Jordan in his rookie year batted .308 with 11 home runs in 69 games. First at bat, he walked, and in his second at bat in the major leagues, he hit a home run, a 3-run home run off Bob Nipper.
Big fella like that, you would think he'd have a little more power, but I think his power is principally to the alleys. He is a good, kind of a clutch hitter. He's very good with men on base.
And he fouls that one back into the stands. Phillies have drawn over 2 million people, as well as the Mets, a few other teams. 2 million, a necessity in today's market, isn't it, Frank?
It certainly is, and with a city this size, it is an absolute necessity. Bill Giles and Dave Montgomery do a great job in running this franchise, and they haven't had great success on the field in the last few years, but it's a good franchise. They draw a lot of people. A lot of New Yorkers here, a lot of New Yorkers in the hotel. It's hard to play a game down here where at some time during the course of the game you do not hear, or you do hear, that old cry of "Let's go Mets."
So David Cohn keeps his record intact as he strikes out his 4th batter. All of his outs have been on strikeouts. And that'll bring up Castillo, and he swings and misses, strike 1. Castillo hitting .184. No home runs, 2 runs batted in. And the curveball. 2 strikes to count. Mets leading 3-0. The Phillies with a runner at second, 1 man out. And swing and a miss. So another strikeout. 5 strikeouts. At this pace, Frank, he will strike out 27 batters and set a new record.
I would not want to hold my breath to bet on that, but he certainly is off to a good beginning.
This is the last chance for Tim McCarver to make good on his prediction that David Cohn would be the first Mets player to pitch a no-hit, no-run game. He's got one going here right now through the first inning, and then he blew it. So Tim has disappointed us again. He predicted a no-hit, no-run game by David Cohn this year.
I had heard that.
I'll tell you, he came close. So Cohn pitched a one-hitter and also a one-hitter for 7 innings. And 2 of his appearances since Tim made that prediction. He said it tongue-in-cheek, obviously. No Mets pitchers ever pitched a no-hit, no-run game.
It's amazing, isn't it, with all the great pitchers that they have had or we have had with this franchise.
Foul ball down the line.
I think the hallmark of this franchise has been its great pitching.
Certainly not great hitting. No Mets players ever hit 300 in a lifetime. Keith Hernandez with the highest batting average as a Mets player at 297. And the slider for a ball, and it's 1 ball and 2 strikes.
The thing about David is that all of his pitches are above average. He's got above average fastball, he's got above average slider, he's got above average forkball.
Pitching to Doug Lindsey, batting for the first time in the major leagues. And he goes down on strikes. So Cohn has struck out his first 6 outs. All of his outs have been on strikeouts through the first 2 innings. And after 2, it's the Mets 3 and the Philadelphia Phillies nothing. And here's a message from Mobile. Last day of the year for the Mets and Phillies, and of course regular season baseball in the National League and the American League. And of course you by now know that Atlanta has won the Western Division over the Dodgers, and it'll be Atlanta and Pittsburgh in the championship series, game time number 1. The first game will be played on Wednesday, and the first pitch to Miller as the Mets bat here in the 3rd, leading 3-0, taken for strike 1. It has really done something for the city of Atlanta. I got a cute story in the paper. Frank Dolson, a fine writer for the Philadelphia Inquirer, has a story about Greg Olson, the catcher. Olson walked into a Waffle House, and he was immediately recognized. The waitress told him how much she had riding on the pennant race. She'd been going with a guy, she said, a year or so ago, and she asked him when he was going to pop the question about marrying her. And the fellow answered with, when the Braves won the pennant. Of course, they were in last place last year. He thought he was off the hook. And now that they won, I guess she'll be getting married shortly.
He's going to have to pay the piper.
Here's the 2-1 pitch, and it's a ball. So it's 3-1 to Keith Miller, who doubled his first time up. Atlanta Braves with their all-time record attendance this year, going over the 2 million mark.
Johnny Schuerholz went down there and did a couple of things. I think they had great young pitching, and they were on their way to having a good ball club. He cemented it. He did a marvelous job at that team.
Well, one of the benefits of finishing last so many years as they did was the fact you get the first-round draft choices, and they come through when you get first pick in the nation, or at least the first 4. And the ground ball hits slowly to Morandini, the second baseman, and Miller is out. Talking about the National League playoff schedule, this is the way it will be.
Rays versus the Pirates on Wednesday in Pittsburgh, and Thursday in Pittsburgh, and then Saturday and Sunday and Monday they go in Atlanta, then Wednesday and Thursday back in Pittsburgh. It's the best 4 out of 7. What do you think about that playoff round? Can we put you on the spot? Well, first we better talk about the American League playoffs, where the Minnesota Twins and the Toronto Blue Jays will play Tuesday and Wednesday in Minnesota, Friday through Sunday in Toronto, then return to Minnesota if necessary on Tuesday and Wednesday, October 15 and 16, also a best 4 out of 7.
2 teams that finished last year, Minnesota and the Atlanta Braves.
Isn't that remarkable? What a turnaround.
So there's hope for the Mets next year?
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of hope for the Mets next year. Tell me what you think about the playoffs.
I'm trying to get out of that.
Championship series.
Well, the longer I've been around baseball, the less I know. And this one popped up to left field. Templeton makes the play. I would like to see Pittsburgh win it. Obviously, I've have something special there. Pittsburgh, of course, my team when I played baseball most of my major league career. But I actually think Pittsburgh has an outstanding ball club. I think they got a good chance to win.
Jim Leland has done a great job with that ball club and bringing them together. They lost some people this year. They lost Sid Breen, who went to principally who went to Atlanta, and he still pulled them back together and put together an outstanding ball club. Won more games this year than they won a year ago.
And of course, Atlanta acquiring Sid Bream, he was a factor to some degree, although he missed quite a few ball games. But the big man over there was Pendleton, who might lead the National League in hitting. He's leading by 2 points over Tony Gwynn right now at .319. If he doesn't play today, he will win the National League Championship, and he was picked up as a free agent. Hard smash in the hole. Great play by Batiste. A long throw, not in time, and Reynolds has an infield hit. But Batiste making a fine stop. And a strong arm right there, too, huh?
Yeah, he's got good credentials, good scouting report, which I mentioned previously. Here he goes, way over in the hole, way over. Stops, see how he sets himself and then gets it across. Too many young shortstops will try and throw that ball off balance, but he's going to get up. He's going to set himself right there, and then comes overhand and across the diamond.
So McReynolds with a base hit, the Mets 5th, and they have a runner on with 2 men out, and Greg Jeffries the batter. 1 strike to count. Jeffries, a disappointment. How does he fit into your plans? That's got to be a tough question.
Question on Jeffries is now, will continue to be, what position does he play? Looks to me like he's going to have to be a third baseman. There was a wild pitch. Not just a wild pitch, but a wild pitch.
That's a major league wild pitch right there. Lindsey's going to have to position himself a little bit higher.
That ball had to get away from him. It couldn't have been.
Well, we saw Tommy Green throw a run against the screen at Shea Stadium earlier this year, and then he went out and pitched a no-hit, no-run game.
Tommy Green was scheduled to start this game today, but when the Phillies clinched third place, they came on with the youngster.
And he had a good year.
He did have a good year.
No hit, no run game against Montreal.
Came here in the Murphy trade from Atlanta.
That was a good trade for Philadelphia.
Yes, it was.
And a line drive to right field as Jeffries hits it hard. The throw by Murphy. He's got a strong arm and not in time. And going down to second on the throw is Jeffries. The Mets now lead 4-0.
They gave him a single, called it second on the throw. Good scoring. That ball sharply to right field. Hard to say whether a good throw would have gotten him there or not. It would have been awful close. As it was, the ball's a little bit up the line. Catcher has to reach for it, come back. Tim McCarver has told you ad nauseum that the catcher wants the ball on the other side. He never wants to turn his back on the runner, which you have to do there. And his request to me is exactly right. One of the game's better catchers than through the years.
And the batter now is Chris Donalds, and he takes the first pitch for strike one. Donalds single to center field to drive in a run in the first inning. Mets now leading by a score of 4-0 as they bat here with 2 men out in the top of the third. Ground ball to the second baseman, Morandini. That retires the side, but the Mets get one on 2 hits. And they leave one. The score at the end of 2.5 innings, it is the Mets 4, the Phillies nothing. And here's a word from the New York Daily News.
Time is running out for you to be a part of Ultimate Week, the Mets Baseball Fantasy Camp. Space is limited, so sign up now to join with your heroes in celebrating 30 years of New York Mets baseball. Seaver, Grody, Jones, Kuzman, Cranepool, from AG to Zimmer. Whether you're 30 or 90, you can take the field in Florida with former Mets greats, from the 62 Amazons to the Miracle of 69 to the 86 World Champs. Get a free brochure by calling 800-525-METS.
All right, it's here. There's another New York Mets clubhouse shop, and this one's located in the Menlo Park Mall in Edison, New Jersey. The new clubhouse shop will have the same in-park excitement as the original Manhattan store, including authentic Mets merchandise, novelties, and game day memorabilia. We'll celebrate the opening of the Menlo Park Mall shop with Mets stars John Franco, who will be there on Saturday, October 26th from 12 to 2 p.m. We invite you to visit the New York Mets Clubhouse shop in New York at 575 Fifth Avenue and the new shop at the Menlo Park Mall in Edison, New Jersey.
Well, we're going to the bottom of the third. The Mets leading 4-0, and Andy Ashby will be the leadoff batter. The pitcher takes the first pitch, a called strike.
Well, his son Gregory that works in that Menlo Park Mall, so I'm sure he'll be spending a lot of his time at lunch up there going through the Met memorabilia. He's a major Met fan, as you would imagine.
Has to be. Has to be 1 for 11 in his major league career. And the breaking ball for a ball, and it's 1-2.
At the risk of this young man standing up and getting a base hit, he doesn't look like a hitter, right?
And we'll see if he can get the bat on the ball. He does that, and that'll break the string. Jeffries should drop it. Ball was in foul territory. If Jeffries drops the ball, then Cohen would have a shot at the all-time strikeout record of consecutive strikeouts. He had struck out his first 6 batters. The record for consecutive strikeouts is 10, held by Tom Seaver. He did that for the Mets against the San Diego Padres.
Perhaps Jay Horwitz should have gone down and warned them of that so that they would have thought about that possibility. We're only kidding, folks. We're only kidding. Players don't drop balls.
Actually, now I got a story for you, and it's a true story. Dizzy Dean was pitching a ball game. He had made a wager, a small wager, that he would strike out Vince DiMaggio, Joe DiMaggio's brother, 4 times in the ball game. He struck him out 3 times, and the 4th time he came up and hit a pop fly in foul territory like that. Dean ran over and yelled at the third baseman to drop the ball, which he did. And then he came back and struck out DiMaggio for the 4th time and won his bet. So those things have taken place. I guess nowadays they'd have a major investigation on it.
Thinking of the stature of Dizzy, I'm sure that by that time the third baseman was shaking hearing Dizzy yelling in his ear. I saw Stan Musial the other day, was with him the other day in New York, and he of course played his harmonica, which he would do at the drop of a hat.
Anywhere at any time.
Any time, and he mentioned Dizzy Dean.
Dean, I think, played harmonica too, didn't he?
He did.
I know he did sing, and there's a swing and a miss, and that is the 7th strikeout.
Here's a look at the Macy's National League scoreboard. Montreal, Pittsburgh are 0-0 in the 4th. Houston, Atlanta the same way in the 1st. St. Louis and Chicago no score in the 1st. Cincinnati and San Diego go at it later. And of course the game on the West Coast, which now becomes a meaningless game between Los Angeles and the Giants.
And this ball is fouled off, so the count 1-1. A lot has been made, Frank Cashin, about the rivalry between the Giants and Dodgers.
Well, I think it's a very healthy rivalry, and I know it stems from the top. You and I both know one of the great gentlemen and great competitors in this game, Al Rosen, who was the general manager of the Giants, and you know that he has much dislike for the Dodgers.
He also doesn't like to lose. That's another thing.
And I think those 2 combinations, I'm going to have to call out here in a day or so and congratulate him really on his team's performance, because it was a crucial series, and I sat like everyone else and watched those games on television, and the Giants just played superb baseball.
They really were up for it. Of course, it doesn't hurt when you got a full house behind you all the time. And of course, they knocked the Dodgers off 2 straight to knock them out of the championship. That rivalry, of course, started in New York, where it was even bigger. The Dodgers and the Giants were bigger rivals there than they are in San Francisco and L.A.
I don't think those people in Los Angeles understand that, but we were in New York very much do. That's great for baseball, that come down to that race in the final. You know, next to last day of the season, the race is finally decided. I say it's great from afar. If I was there,
You'd rather win sooner, huh?
I'd rather win by 12.
And again, a foul ball, and this one right underneath it, so the count stays at 3-2 on Morandini, who has walked his first time up. Mets leading 4-0. Well, the anniversary of the greatest so-called game ever played, the playoff game, Bobby Thompson's home run off of Ralph Branca when the Giants defeated the Dodgers in 1951 in the playoffs. And that is only the second out made that wasn't a strikeout in this ball game, as Miller makes the catch and David Cohn walks off with 7 strikeouts in the first 3 innings. The score of the Mets 4, the Phillies nothing, and here's a word from Budweiser. Well, the first pitch here in the top of the 4th inning hit hard by Jeff Gardner to the first baseman. Jordan makes a nice stop as he knocks down the line drive and picks up the out.
Here's that play. Gardner hits the ball solidly, gets a nice inside fastball, drives it into Jordan's glove, out of Jordan's glove, but he recovers quickly and makes the put out himself.
So 1 pitch and 1 away as Charlie O'Brien steps in. The Mets leading 4-0, 3 in the first, 1 in the third. Jordan taking an extra base hit away from Jeff Gardner.
Well, that first inning we had the umbrellas going up. We had a light rain started to fall, but it was a very short duration.
And again, the first pitch is hit. Getaway day. Hollins guns at the first base, and O'Brien is out. 2 pitches, 2 men out.
All right, let's take a look at the Budweiser American League scoreboard, where Cleveland is defeating New York 1-0 in 4. Milwaukee and Boston tied 1 apiece at 4. Detroit and Baltimore delayed by rain. Toronto 1-0 over Minnesota. Oakland, Texas, Kansas City, California, and Chicago, Seattle, all at later times.
And David Cohn, the batter, and he hits the first pitch. And this will be a 3-pitch inning, just the way we like it on getaway day. And 3 men are out. So David Cohn flies out the left end the inning, and the score at the end of 3.5 innings, it is the Mets 4 and the Phillies nothing. And this message from AT&T. This game is brought to you in part by AT&T. Long distance, all you need to reach out. And by the Chase Manhattan Bank. Chase, profit from the experience. And we're going to the bottom half of the 4th inning. The Mets leading by a score of 4-0. Wes Chamberlain will lead it off. Chamberlain has struck out in his 1 at bat, and there's strike 2. David Cohn has struck out 7 in the first 3 innings. He will lead the National League in strikeouts. He now has a total of 229 strikeouts. Last year he struck out 232 to lead the major leagues. And he misses high, and it's 1-2. I'm working with Frank Cashin, who has taken the place of Tim McCarver here in this final game. Frank, it's nice to have you with us, but we got to ask you who's going to be the Mets' new manager. And there's strikeout number 8.
Ralph, I don't know who is going to be the Mets' new manager. Al Harrison's going to make that decision. I do know that he has set no particular timetable to get it done, although he is anxious to get it done sooner than later. What is sooner than later? Sooner would be before the end of the World Series, I would think he would expect to have somebody.
Of course, one of the candidates, Mike Cubbage, who is running the ball club right now after the departure of Bud Harrelson.
Right. Mike's a good baseball man. He's managed for us in the minor leagues, has won wherever he's been. Very thorough baseball man.
What are you looking for in a manager? It's different in New York. There's no doubt about it.
Well, I'm glad that you did that preamble to your question, because the truth of the matter is that it is a little different in New York than anywhere else. You want an experienced baseball person. I guess the number one requirement would be somebody who can communicate with 25 ball players. Let them know where they stand at all times, pretty much. Tell them they're going to be sitting on the bench. Tell them they're going to be pitching out of the bullpen. I say that because some few years ago, as you attest, we ruled by the fear syndrome. You know, you do it my way or we'll bury you in the minor leagues forever. Of course, kind of what Branch Rickey used to tell you.
That's right. We can finish last without you.
But today you have to be able to communicate. So know the game, communicate with players. I guess the added thing in New York is that you have to be able to handle a very large and a very inquisitive press crew. It's not as easy as one might think. It's something you have to look for. You have to get somebody who has. Ball players don't have to like them, but they certainly got to respect them. So somebody who has to respect the ball players.
That one is a swinging strikeout as Murphy gets a lot of distance on the throw, close to the record, but not a new one. And that is strikeout number 9 for David Cone, and he is tacking up some pretty good numbers here.
Here he comes with this pitch again, and he really fools Murphy. He's out there in front of that pitch, and there goes the bat. Pretty good form, though, the way he threw that.
I think he
went down on one knee, got almost as much distance as you possibly can. Not a world record, but
close to it. Yeah. I'd give him about a 9 on a scale of
1 to 10.
1 to 10, and that'll bring up Dave Hollins, who has the only hit for the Philadelphia Phillies. He doubled in his first at bat, and he takes that pitch for strike 1.
You know, this Dave Hollins has shown something I don't like to see here, and that is he seems to have the ability to hit very well against the New York Mets. He's just done a good job against us.
And he fouls this one away, and it's strike 2. He's done a better job hitting right-handed than left by far.
Dave comes out of Buffalo, in fact, out of Orchard Park High School. Some of my good friends that I play a lot of golf with, June and Gus Heck, are out of that area. Gus Heck was an engineer out of Johns Hopkins who worked in Buffalo for many years. And somehow always wants to talk about the Buffalo Bills. Why would you think that?
I don't understand, because all they do is win. Of course, Buffalo a candidate for a major league franchise, as a fellow named Rich up there has been trying to get a franchise in Buffalo. Just to put it in perspective, that would be a tough place to put a ball club, not because of the city and not because of the fact they wouldn't draw. They've drawn 1 million people in minor league baseball, but the fact that they infringe on a lot of TV areas by being in that location.
That's true. Their proximity to Montreal and would be a difficult.
Cleveland, Boston,
Cleveland, Detroit.
Detroit
is actually very close in there. Toronto, the other Canadian team, is in there. Dave Hollins was originally signed by San Diego, and then the Phillies picked him up in 1989 in the Rule 5 draft. The Rule 5 draft is a draft whereby if a ball player has played organized baseball for 3 years and is not on a major league roster, he can be picked up, and that's the way Dave Hollins was secured by Philadelphia, as David Cone adds another K, another strikeout to his record.
10 strikeouts, and the game isn't halfway over. The record is being approached by David Cone, and we'll be back with the Mets leading 4-0 after 4, right after this word from New York Telephone. Well, back here at Veterans Stadium, the Mets are leading 4-0 after 4 innings of play, and David Cone has struck out 10 men through the first 4 innings. A record, of course, of 20 strikeouts in the 9-inning ball game by Mr. Clemens of the Boston Red Sox, as Darrell Boston leads it off for the Mets. Darrell with a triple and a run scored, moves into bunting position and takes ball 1.
Well, some of the races round for surprises. We talked about Atlanta going from last to first and Minnesota following the same course. The Toronto win over Boston, I think, they looked like the 2 class teams in the East, and Boston battled them for a while, but actually Toronto won it easily. The other division of baseball, the American League,
And they pitch a ball. Minnesota.
Yeah, Minnesota winning easily.
9 games up on the White Sox, and of course Oakland 11 games back, and they were in the World Series last year. It changes quickly, doesn't it?
The baseball experts, whoever they may be,
are there any?
Had predicted that the best division in baseball was the American League West because they had such great teams, and they didn't even mention Minnesota, but Oakland and California, who actually finished up last.
And almost a 500 year, though. California had 1 game under 500. I guess they could finish at 500.
And had 3 pitchers who had a good shot at winning 20 ball games. A lot of good teams out there, yet Minnesota made absolute mockery of it, walked away with the divisional title.
2 balls, 2 strikes on Boston, who's 1 for 2 in this game. The Mets have 6 hits, and the Phillies have 1, and there's a half swing and a strikeout for Andy Ashby, his 4th in the ball game. Remember, drinking responsibly makes good sense. Please, no one to say when. A reminder from Budweiser, one of our great sponsors throughout the year. 1 away in the top of the 5th inning, and Keith Miller, the batter. Keith doubled his first time up, is 1 for 2 today. And he takes a strike. Miller hitting .270 for the year. Finally getting the chance to play his favorite position, second base. He was always regarded as a great prospect in your minor league operation.
Yes, he was, and for the things that you see here, particularly late in the season, he's a spark plug. He's the kind of person you like to have early in the lineup. He can do a lot of things. Defensively, he has always been better than adequate second baseman with a better than adequate arm. Not outstanding, but a very good everyday ball player. Keeping him healthy, as you know, has been the major problem.
He plays hard and gets hurt a lot. And the 1-2 pitch fouled off. The kind of stays at 1-2. Speaking of playing hard, one of your trades that has been criticized, Lenny Dykstra. And Lenny Dykstra, of course, is hurt and on the disabled list right now. He broke his collarbone running into the fence in Cincinnati. And when he was traded to the Phillies, he had a very poor finish for the Phillies on that year that he was traded, and then came back to become the player that the Mets always thought he could be, but you traded him off.
We did trade him off, and he came over here to Philadelphia, and he had a very poor year for the rest of the year. At the end of the year, they offered to trade him back. That's probably our mistake, was not in trading him, but not taking him back. I think what happened to Lenny is that he came over here, found out he had a very poor last half of the season, and said to himself, maybe I better do what they've been trying to get me to do for a long time, which is to go with the pitch and to hit it and not to worry about trying to pull the ball and be power hungry. Once he did that, he became a splendid hitter and had a great year, and was going with a great year this year when he was hurt.
This one is going to be gone. Goodbye. Keith Miller with his 4th home run, and the Mets lead it 5-0.
We were just talking about what kind of ball player Miller is, and he's got that ability to hit the ball a long way, as well as ability to steal bases, spark plug the infield. He couldn't possibly have him having a salary drive. This is the last day of the year. But he does have 2 extra base hits and 3 at-bats.
Well, he shows that he can hit the ball for some distance, although he's never shown that in a regular season. Throughout the year.
Here he goes, and he gets all of it. It's right above, well above the belt. Right there, almost on the verge of being a ball, but he went up and got it and drove it.
And now the batter is Howard Johnson, who needs an RBI to be the leader in runs batted in, and he has really struggled trying to win that department as Keith Miller goes to the water cooler.
I suppose the easiest way for him to do that is hit the ball out of the ballpark just like Miller did.
He will lead the National League in home runs with his 38. 1 short of the Mets club record. Darryl Strawberry has that, and there's the fastball. 2 strikes to count. Johnson has taken over the RBI record for the New York Mets with his 116. He also is tied for the club record in runs scored with 108. Tied with Darryl Strawberry in that department. He is having some sort of year.
He is indeed. Having a super year with the bat.
We'll be talking to Howard Johnson after the ball game about his great season. And he hits a soft line drive to first. A good play on it by Jordan. And the throw over to first is an accurate throw, and Ashby makes the put out at first. And Johnson is out for the third time.
It was almost a casual throw over there, but it was right on the money. There's no doubt about it. Let's see that play again. Mojo made good contact, drove the ball, turned over there nicely. Look at that, almost a jump throw, jump pass.
So 2 men away. And that brings up Kevin McReynolds, who's had not a good year. And the pitch is fouled away.
No, he hasn't had a good year, and I noticed the other day when several of the writers asked him about it, he was very terse about it. Said, I did not have a good year. I don't know why. I never seemed to get the thing going. He's a man of very few words.
Terse is an understatement. But you know, he also said, I don't worry about it. That would scare me. I would worry about a bad year.
Well, I would worry about a bad year, too, as I worry about this year.
And the pitch is taken for a ball. It's 2 balls and 1 strike.
You know, when a team goes well and wins, just like when we were winning constantly, not one ball player carries the team. They have to take turns. The team, somebody carries it for a while, they slack off, somebody else picks it up. We never had that luxury this year of anybody picking it up. And as I said at the top of the show, the collapse of the Mets this year was a real team effort.
This one is far enough. Is it fair? If it's fair, it's gone, and it is foul ball.
Not by very much, but foul ball.
It was a team effort.
Here we're going to see that play again, and here it is. We don't have a great angle in reading that ball. I noticed while it looked very close to us that Kevin never really left the plate, so I'm sure he thought it was going to be a foul ball. Kevin will be off to Arkansas to be going hunting and fishing, which are his off-season activities.
He'd rather be on the cover of Field and Stream than on Sports Illustrated as he walks, and the Mets have a runner at first.
So he's 1 for 3, having singled in the 3rd inning and later scored. Greg Jeffries drilled the ball to right field.
And Jeffries, the batter, 2 for 2. Jeffries, 9 home runs, 61 runs batted in, hitting .270. And that ball gets away from Lindsey, and McReynolds down to second on the wild pitch.
Is that a wild pitch? I thought that ball should have been caught. Maybe it did bounce in there.
I think it did bounce. Didn't bounce. It's going to be a pass ball. Oh, he's having a tough time.
He is having a tough time for his debut in the major leagues.
Doug Lindsey catching his first game in the major leagues. And a ball call, so it's 2-0.
Good-looking size for a catcher. I know a little bit about him from the Eastern League. There's Jim Fregosi. Took over this ball club early on, one of the early changes in managerial, almost the third week of the season, and has done a good job with the Philadelphia Ball Club. Jim's 3rd managing assignment. He managed for the Angels, he managed for the White Sox, and now is over managing in the National League with the Phillies.
Al Lanier, is it?
Yes, it was Al Lanier.
Former Major League manager, and this ball popped up into center field. Jeffries flying out to center as Castillo makes the catch in the inning. So the Mets get 1 on the home run by Keith Miller. He also had a walk and a runner left on, and the score at the end of 4.5 innings. The Mets 5 and the Phillies nothing, and here's a message from Mobile. Well, we'd like to remind you this copyrighted telecast is authorized under television rights granted by the New York Mets solely for the entertainment of our audience. Any publication, reproduction, or other use of the pictures, descriptions, and accounts of this game without the express written consent of the New York Mets and Sterling AA Enterprises and WWOR-TV is prohibited. Any commercial or other use of the program, such as by charging admission for its showing, is also prohibited. Bottom of the 5th, and Ricky Jordan to lead it off, and the curveball swung on a miss.
Off-speed pitch. Just to clarify what we were talking about before, the Phillies announced today that 4 of their 5 coaches will be back. They are Mike Ryan, John Vukovich, Larry Boa, Dennis Menke, and Johnny Padres, but that Hal Lanier will not return. He is going to be succeeded by a young man out of the Philadelphia system. Hal Lanier was the manager of Houston in that '86 championship series when the Mets played them, which I'm sure you will never, ever forget that series and that ball game that went on and on and on.
6th game that the Mets won, 16 innings?
Yes, that's the game. Larry Boa's name I've heard around is still possible managerial material. There was some thought about John Vukovich perhaps moving on to manage a ball club somewhere.
And another strikeout for David Cohen. His 11th in this game. He has struck out 4 in a row.
Here's David Cohen. He needs 1 strikeout to surpass last season's career high of 233. The manner in which he's coasting through that game, I would fully expect that we'd see that, and not in the see it in the very near future.
And the batter is Rolio Castillo, who was struck out his first time up. Phillies have made only 2 outs other than strikeouts in this ball game. As Cohen with a count of strike 2 on Castillo. And a ground ball to the shortstop, fielded by Gardner to throw to first for the out. So now 3 outs other than strikeouts.
A couple other baseball announcements today. The Padres announced that Greg Riddick would be back along with all his coaches for the '92 season. That was a matter of some controversy. Some people thought that Joe McIlvaine might replace him, but he announced today that he would be back. The other significant thing in baseball today is the final game being played in Baltimore's Memorial Stadium.
Now the batter is Lindsey, and he takes for ball 1. That should have a little tug at your heartstrings.
It does. I was invited to go down there for the final game. They've had big dinner last night. They have another party tonight after the game. And you know the way I hate parties, Ralph. So,
yeah.
But I would much rather be here with you. They had an interesting idea, which I suppose they did make from that.
Another good curveball for strike 2.
That idea was they invited all the players that had played for the Orioles there in that stadium, and they were all going to put on their uniforms, and then they would all go to the positions that they played. Coney gets another strikeout, equals that mark, mows him down again.
1-2-3 inning, and his 12th strikeout, and the score at the end of 5. It's the Mets 5 and the Phillies nothing, and here's a word from Bud Light. Jim Lindeman, the new first baseman, as they make a double switch and bring in another pitcher. Bruce Ruffin, the new pitcher, with a record of 4-7. Earned run average of 3.77, his second appearance in this series. And he'll be working to Chris Donalds as his first batter. The Mets leading 5-0. Andy Ashby out of the ball game after 5 innings of work, charged with 5 runs on a total of 7 base hits while striking out 4 and walking 1.
Saw the Philly Fanatic there during the break doing some line dancing with some of the usherettes here. I don't know who his choreographer is. He's something else. Any good piece of talent?
He is good. Donald's 1 for 2 in the game, and now having to face the left-hander. He takes a strike. And Ruffin misses away in the count, 1 ball and 1 strike.
Chris is 1 for 2 in this ball game. He singled to center, drove in a run in the first inning.
And he goes too far in the half swing, and it's strike 2, 1 ball and 2 strikes. Chris Donalds, Loyola Marymount College in California, our #1 draft choice. And he is struck out, so Ruffin strikes out his first batter, and that'll bring up Jeff Gardner. Jeff 0 for 2. Mets 5 runs on 7 hits. The Phillies no runs on 1 hit. And the feature of the ball game, the strikeouts by David Cone. He now has 12, surpassing last year's total of 233. Now has 234. The National League record for strikeouts held by Steve Carlton and Tom Seaver, 19. Carlton did it against the Mets and lost the ball game. He's the only pitcher in Major League history who has struck out 19 batters and lost. And a fly ball to left field. So 2 men away, and Charlie O'Brien will be the batter. That game that he lost, Ron Swoboda had 2 home runs in the ball game to beat him.
Is that right?
That was 1969, a year that Mr. Cashin would like to forget.
And a year which everybody brings up constantly.
As the Mets beat Baltimore, and Frank Cashin was the general manager of Baltimore that year. Mets winning 4 of the 5 games. After losing the first, Tom Seaver, the losing pitcher, the Mets won 4 in a row.
Seems to me the first batter, Donnie Buford, to face Seaver, hit a home run.
That's right.
And the Orioles went out in front.
I thought the ball should have been caught by Ron Swoboda. It was just over the right field fence.
Ron Swoboda's got no apologies to make about that series. He made some catches, one against Brooks Robinson, where he made a diving backhand catch. But let us talk about other things now.
Change the subject quickly.
Oh, it took me a number of years, but I finally did admit it was a great thing for baseball when the Mets came and won that series in '69.
Mets coming from 9th place to win in 1969. Of course, that was when there was 10 teams in the division. The Mets coming from 9th. This year, Atlanta coming from 6th, and Minnesota coming from 6th place to win. It was Minnesota 7th. I forgot. They were last.
Yeah, they were 7th.
Yeah. 7th. What's going to happen, Frank Cashin, with the expansion? What kind of a schedule are we going to have?
Well, it's a subject that everybody in baseball is talking about these days. But Charlie O'Brien goes down swinging, and we're going to move into the bottom of the 6th inning here, and we'll be back in a minute.
After this word from Manufacturers Hanover. Father Coleman Costello's outreach project will cap Drug-Free New York Week with the 1991 Walk Away from Drugs over the Queensboro Bridge on Sunday, October 27th at 10 a.m. To register, call Outreach Project at 718-847-9233. 718-847-9233. Bottom of the 6th inning, the Mets leading 5-0, and David Cone pitching to Jim Lindeman, who is batting for the first time in this game. Lindeman coming in the ball game when the Phillies made a double switch. Lindeman at first base, and Ruffin came in to pitch.
Jim Lindeman was a long-time St. Louis Cardinal ball player. Was scheduled or rumored to be, going to be a pretty good hitter with power. Never really quite made it over there. When Lee Thomas came over here from St. Louis to Philadelphia, he acquired Lindeman's contract. He's been an extra ball player, has occasional power.
Batting .344 for the year with no home runs, 12 runs batted in, and a swing at the fastball from 2-2. Lindeman bothered with a bad back. He's had a couple of operations.
Yeah, he has been out for huge chunks of the season.
2-2 the count, and the swing and a miss, and David Cohn gets his 13th strikeout. That matches his career high.
We're going to take another look at that strikeout. Here it is. Like so many of David Cohen's pitches, it's either borderline or out of the strike zone. But he's got that good stuff, that good motion on the ball. His ball is really moving today.
And there's a good fastball. You can see the movement on that one as Kim Batiste bats for the third time. He has struck out twice.
He has struck him out twice with balls high and outside of the strike zone. Since that's the way he's been going, and let's see if he stays the same way. That ball was low, a good low strike. Let's see if he takes the ball high and outside again.
Cohen has struck out 13 batters 3 times in his major league career. This makes it the 4th.
He tried to get him high and outside, but he didn't bite. Let's see if he goes back out there. Where Charlie's sitting. He's sitting right down Broadway.
And there's his 14th strikeout, and that ties the National League high for this year. Doc Gooden struck out 14 earlier. Gooden struck out 14 against Montreal earlier this year.
Yeah, here's a fastball, right low fastball, right on the outside corner. Just overmatched him.
And now the batter is Mickey Morandini, who has not struck out. He is the only batter to be able to say that, and he still hasn't struck out as he singles for the second hit off David Cohn. Morandini had walked his first time up and had popped to second, and now he has singled in center field.
David Cohn hadn't given up a base hit since a leadoff double to Dave Hollins in the second inning. David then came back and struck out the side to leave Hollins at second base.
And now the batter will be Wes Chamberlain, who has struck out twice in the curveball, snapping over in the strike zone for strike 1. Good fastball and strike 2, and he just powered that one right by him.
He has great command of all of his pitches today. That's been the difference. And he hasn't nibbled at all. He gets ahead 2 strikes and comes right back after the hitters.
It's too strong to nibble. He can really power you out of there. And it's high for a ball. It's 1-2.
You almost feel like the pitcher's going to cheat himself when he has that kind of equipment to nibble at all.
David with a record of 13 and 14. And a curve again, 2-2. He has a major league curveball. Very few pitchers have that. The Mets have 2 curveball pitchers, and Doc Gooden and David Cohn. Very few pitchers have curveballs anymore. They throw the slurve. And the fastball foul back, and it stays at 2 balls and 2 strikes. The toughest pitch to hit, curveball.
Well, the Mets may be in an unusual position over the winter, and that is of going out and looking for another starter. Starting pitching has been the strength of this ball club for many years, but with Doc Gooden coming back from surgery and Sid Fernandez coming back from surgery, in order to have some insurance policies, they may have to go out and get them. And David gets another strikeout, and Wes Chamberlain throws down his batting helmet and his bat in disgust. That's it for the Philadelphia Phillies in the 6th, and we'll move to the top of the 7th.
And nobody beats the Wiz. Oh, fans, David Cohn with 15 strikeouts through his first 6 innings. He has 9 outs to go, and he needs 5 to tie the all-time record of 20. And he will be working on that in the 7th inning. We're going to the top of the 7th. And for the Mets, leadoff batter will be David Cohn. Cohn with no hits and 2 at-bats. And he takes for ball 1. We were talking about the expansion with Frank Cashin and what's going to happen with the new schedule and whatever when it comes about in 1993.
Actually, the two new teams, which are the Florida Marlins and the Denver Rockets, will be able to draft in the amateur draft in June. But the telling draft is going to come after the 1992 season, when they will have their real expansion draft. The way the draft will operate is that each team will be able to write down 15 players that are protected. They will then have, one of the expansion teams will have their pick of the 16th ball player on your club, which should be a very good ball player, as David Cohn takes a walk, gets free transportation to first base. And then after they select one, you're allowed to draw 3 more players back, and then they have the right to select the next player on your ball club, which would be the 19th player on your ball club. And they can draft anybody that is eligible for the Rule 5 draft. So anybody who has had 3 or more years experience will be eligible for the draft.
And that pitch by Ruffin is in the dirt. It gets by Lindsey, and that will be a wild pitch, and Cohn moves down to second.
Here's that pitch again, and he just bounces the ball. Lindsey's got no chance on this one.
Mets leading 5-0. A runner at second with no one out. Darrell Boston, the batter.
We don't want Cohn to start using up his energies running the bases, Ralph, with the kind of pitching performance he's put on here today.
Maybe that's their strategy. Get him on and wear him out. Although it's a very cool day here in Philadelphia after some very, very warm weather. He refused his jacket, though.
Well, we've been blessed this year with really good weather, right down to this, the final day of the season. I haven't worn a top coat at any ball game I've been to since last spring in Chicago.
Of course, you can wear a top coat in Chicago in the summertime. Yeah. Or San Francisco.
Or San Francisco.
Boston with a count of 1-2. The Mets leading 5-0. We're in the top of the 7th inning, the last game of the year. And it's fouled off. The count will stay at 1-2.
On the roof in the expansion draft, anybody who is a 5 and 10 player, which means he can only be traded with his permission, or anybody that has a no trade contract, must go on your 15-man list. The trick really, and I've been through this twice with the Orioles, the trick really is to be able to protect your young ball players and still protect. Used to get an easy play across the line. Good strong arm on that shortstop.
Kim Batiste, the shortstop.
All right, let's take a look at the Macy's National League scoreboard. Pittsburgh has gone ahead of Montreal 1-0 after 5. Houston over Atlanta, 4th inning. St. Louis is losing to the Cubs 3-0. Cincinnati, San Diego, Los Angeles, San Francisco starting later.
If the Cubs win that ball game and the Mets win, the Mets will finish 5th, correct?
That's true, Ralph.
And, of course, in a way, it's a benefit to the New York Mets. It increases their position in the draft when it comes up.
Well, more importantly, by Philadelphia, prefer to a finish. Our first-round draft choice if we finish in the first 3 places in the National League East. But by finishing 4th or 5th or 6th, we would only lose a second-round draft choice.
Pop up into shallow center field. Castillo going in.
It's going to fall in.
And it does fall in. And no one at second. Here's a play at the plate, and it will be in time. And Cohn is out at the play all the way around. Leadership. It'll be interesting to see whether or not Will Clark plays against the Dodgers in that game at San Francisco. And I'm sure he will, because he'll want that title by himself. But you never know today.
You really don't.
Clark's the type of player that will play, though. He likes to play the game of baseball. And he's a guy that shows up and plays hard all the time. One of the outstanding players in our game.
Yes, I certainly would subscribe to that.
Wally Ritchie is throwing in the bullpen for Philadelphia. Mets leading by a score of 5-0.
Johnson gets an RBI, so he now has the leadership at 117, and it will be up to Clark to beat him. Good base hit by Howard Johnson, his second run batted in this series. He's had a lot of opportunities. He's left 11 men on base, but he got the very important RBI right there. No switch hitter has ever led the National League in runs batted in.
Here it is.
In the National League.
Ball's out there, and he goes the other way with the pitch. Clean single.
Now another base hit for right field. Johnson on his way to third. The throw not in time. And Johnson hustling, even though it's the last day of the season, and he is the home run champion, and he might be the RBI champion.
What you just saw is why Howard Johnson is the kind of ball player he is. He is forever trying to get the extra base. He always hustles. He plays every day. He plays injured. You can't say enough good things about Howard Johnson.
So the Mets now leading by a score of 6-0. And Jeffries is the batter with runners at first and third. 2 men out.
They just announced that they're crediting Keith Miller with a 2-base hit. Third on the throw home that got Cone at the plate.
Miller now with 2 doubles and a home run in this final game. Jeffries with a run batted in, pops it up. Shortstop having the play, and he makes the catch every time on the side.
He retired that side of medium center field.
So 1 run on 3 hits and 2 men left on base. And on the GE line score, after 6.5 innings, the Mets 6 and the Phillies nothing. Now we'll return right after this message.
Dwight Gooden, the pitcher, the hero, the man. Doc the Video, coming soon from Sharp Electronics. To reserve your copy, send $14.95 plus $2.60 for postage to Doc the Video, Shea Stadium, Flushing, New York, zip 11368.
Fans, if you're not currently a season ticket holder or a planned holder and you are interested in the types of season ticket plans being offered to new customers for 1992, please send your name, your mailing address, any day or an evening phone number to Mets Sales Department, Shea Stadium, Flushing, New York, 11368. You will receive details about the various plans and the procedures for confirming your interest in setting up an appointment to view prospective locations. For more information, call the Mets Sales Department at 718-507-1234.
And with Frank Cashin's new job, he will take you out to those locations and show you where you can sit.
Yeah, I'll be doing a lot of things like that. Well, the big interest here, of course, is in David Cohen's performance. He's got a chance at some records here. And Ralph, take him away.
15 strikeouts for David Cohen, and he's working to Dale Murphy. He has 9 more outs to go if he can strike out 6 of the remaining 9 batters, and that's quite an order. He will set the all-time strikeout record of 21 strikeouts. And it's popped up. Drop it. Don't catch it. Brett Donald does make the play, and so Murphy, who had struck out his first 2 times up, flies out, pops up to the first baseman, Donalds.
All right, it's all over in the American League, but here are today's scores. The Yankees are 3-2 over Cleveland in the 7th. Boston leads Milwaukee 2-1 in the 7th. Detroit is 4-1 over the Baltimores in the 3rd. Toronto and Minnesota tied up in the 5th. Oakland, Texas, 0-0. Kansas City, California, and the Chicago-Seattle games will start later.
And now Dave Hollins, the batter. Hollins has doubled one of the 2 hits that Cohen has given up, and he has struck out.
Kind of like this young man's bat, Ralph.
Switch hitter, too.
Yeah, switch hitter.
And Cohen misses for ball 2, 2 balls and no strikes. Earlier this year in the American League, Nolan Ryan had 16 strikeouts against Toronto. That's the high for strikeouts in Major League Baseball this year. Cone has 15, and this ball hit out to right field. It's playable. And Howard Johnson makes a catch. So now David Cone has 7 more outs, and he'll have to strike out 6 of the 7 batters if he wants to break that all-time strikeout record of 20 set by Clemens back in 1986 against Seattle when he struck out 20 batters on April 29th, 1986.
Ron Jones steps in here as a pinch hitter for the pitcher.
First pitch.
Yeah, 0-1.
Jones, prospect until he just tore up his leg against the Mets at Shea Stadium. And Jones, batting 160, has had 4 hits this year. And this ball hit in the air to right field, and again it's playable. So now 6 outs to go, and it's turning against David Cone as he walks off the mound with 15 strikeouts through 7 innings. But he has the lead 6-0 as we go to the bottom of the 7th. And first, a word from Budweiser. Top of the 8th inning, the Mets leading by a score of 6-0. I'm Ralph Connor along with Frank Cashin sitting in for Tim McCarver on his final game. And a new pitcher for Philadelphia, Wally Ritchie, is in the game.
A young left-handed pitcher, another pitcher that spent most of the year in Scranton, was brought up here after they had some injuries, has not pitched all that much. He's been at Scranton for the last couple of years. He was there in 89, again in 90, and again in 91.
And pitching to Chris Donalds, who is 1 for 3 in this game. And this one grounded foul. Ritchie was the pitcher earlier this year that got into a fight with Otis Nixon after he hit Nixon with a pitch. Nixon came out and kicked him and cut him with his spikes around the stomach. And Ritchie was suspended for 1 day, and Nixon also was suspended in that situation. Of course, Nixon out for the season for a drug abuse suspension.
Yeah, looking at a couple of pitchers just limbering up out there in the Met bullpen. Can't believe they're going to replace David Cone, but I suppose if he tires.
High fly ball to center field by Donalds, and it's caught by Castillo. 1 away in the 8th. Cone with 15 strikeouts. Certainly not warming up for tomorrow's game.
We've gotten the starting pitchers for that series. Pittsburgh, Atlanta's going to start Tommy Glavine. That's to nobody's surprise. He's 2011. Jim Leland had some chances or some things way he could go. He's going to open with Doug Grayback, who's 15 and 14. He will open for Pittsburgh. Over in the American League, Toronto has announced that Tom Candiotti will be the starter, and he will oppose Minnesota's Jack Morris.
And the pitch to Gardner is swung on a miss for strike 2. Gardner 0 for 3 in the game. Candiotti acquired from Cleveland in the middle of the season. A good acquisition for Toronto.
Good acquisition. Gave up some good young ball players for him, but he has helped in their winning the Eastern Division of the American League, so it's certainly worth the investment.
Do you like knuckleball pitchers?
Well, I think the romance of knuckleball pitchers, or the practicality of knuckleball pitchers today, are that there's so few of them that they are, you don't hit against them that often, and I think that's why they're so effective.
Of course, Charlie Huff is having a fantastic year. And he's, 43 or something?
The other thing about knuckleball pitchers is they go on and on and on and on. Hoyt Wilhelm.
48.
Yeah, he's going to be, was he 48?
When he retired, yeah. I think he was 48. Ground ball by O'Brien to third base. Holland's a good play on it. The throw to first retires the Mets in order.
Easy inning.
So a 1-2-3 inning for Wally Ritchie, and we go to the bottom of the 8th. The Mets leading by a score of 6-0. But first, a word from New York telephone.
Good umpire, you're right.
And that championship Championship Series will start Tuesday in the American League, Wednesday in the National League.
That's true. Tom Candiotti is going to start for Toronto. Is going to be a free agent this year, which is why Cleveland really made the trade. I'm sure Toronto will make every effort to sign him. Toronto growing 4 million people plus this year.
And the first pitch to Castillo is fouled back out of play. Castillo 0 for 2. He has struck out once. Also has grounded out. The Mets strikeout record 19, which is a tie for the National League all-time high with Steve Carlton, and that was by Tom Seaver in 1970 against the San Diego Padres. Seaver struck out his last 10 batters in that ball game, and that is a record for consecutive strikeouts. Cone in this game struck out 7 consecutive batters. And it's strike 2, 1 and 2. Good play there with the fishnet.
Looks like he's got his fishing equipment in a bag, too.
Where's Kevin McReynolds? He's probably holding it for Kevin. Curveball, did he swing? Nope. Bruce said he did not, so it'll go as a ball, and it's 2 balls and 2 strikes.
A lot of dedicated fishermen on our ball club, probably no more than the 2 coaches, Greg Pavlik and Mel Stottlemyre.
There's a strikeout. 16 strikeouts, and he got him with the curveball. That ties Nolan Ryan for the Major League high this year.
There's that pitch one more time.
Nolan Ryan did it earlier when he pitched that no-hit, no-run game against Toronto. And the fastball to Doug Lindsey, and it's taken for ball 1. Lindsey has struck out twice.
No, as that last replay showed, David's ball has really got so much movement on. It's moving out of the strike zone.
1 ball, 1 strike.
And they're still fishing.
A pitcher named Ron Netchai in the Pirate organization struck out 27 batters in the minor leagues. 27 out of 27. That's amazing. There's a strike, and it's 2 and 2. Never made it in the majors. He was one of Branch Rickey's phenoms back in about 1951 or 2.
Like Baltimore, Steve Dalkowski, the legendary fan, and another strike.
17 strikeouts for David Cone. If he can strike out his remaining batters, he will set a new record. That will bring up Jim Lindeman, who batted once back in the 6th inning and was struck out. And the fastball for ball 1. Cone now second on the all-time strikeout list for the New York Mets. Tom Seaver with 19. And now David Cone second to Tom Seaver on the Mets list with 17. And it will be a fly ball to right field. If Johnson catches it, he will not break the record.
Well, it's hard to see which way you're rooting.
So a 1-2-3 inning, and Cone's still working on the shutout. The Mets leading 6-0, and here's a word from Budweiser. David Cone to lead it off for the Mets. And he takes the first pitch for ball 1. Wally Ritchie on the mound for the Phillies now, the 3rd pitcher used. David, with his 17 strikeouts, the most ever pitched. Most strikeouts ever here in Veteran Stadium. The old record had been set by Steve Carlton with 16 here at Vet Stadium. Carlton did strike out 19 at Chase Stadium against the Mets. The Mets won that ball game on 2 home runs by Ron Swoboda. And, of course, Tom Seaver also with 19 strikeouts against San Diego.
and a foul ball, so they count 1-2 on Cohn, who is 0 for 2 with a walk.
Ralph, I know you're leaving right after the game to go to your home in Palm Springs, California. Is there a chance you'll be on the golf course tomorrow morning?
Well, if they had lights, we'd play tonight. Ground ball to short, fielded nicely by Batiste, and a throw to first base for the out. The nobody beats the Wiz game summary. Miller 3 for 4 with 2 doubles and a home run and 2 runs batted in. Jeffries with 2 for 4 and 2 runs batted in. David Cohn, of course, with 17 strikeouts and a chance to tie the major league record if he can strike out the side in the 9th inning. That's leading by a score of 6-0. 20 strikeouts by Roger Clemens. That was back in 1986 against Seattle, and a swing and a miss, and it's strike 1 to Darrell Boston.
Attendance here today of 29,676 on Fan Appreciation Day. So a good crowd here to bid farewell to the National League season for the Philadelphia Phillies.
Phillies will finish 3rd.
That's their highest finish for a while, isn't it?
Quite a while. They're very happy about it. This ball hit by Boston, a deep right field. It could be gone. It's going. It is gone. Goodbye. Darrell Boston with his 4th home run of the year.
No doubt about this one. First ball he hit, the first pitch of the game. That went out there, looked like it was a home run, hit on the wall, came back. He had an easy triple. No doubt about this one.
So the Mets now leading by a score of 7-0.
Big smile for Darrell Boston. Darrell, look at this swing. He just gets in there, transfers his weight, gets into that ball. No doubt about it. Murph followed it all the way to the wall, but looked up, had no chance. No chance to leap, no chance for anything.
So Boston finishing on a big note as he homers his last at bat. And Keith Miller, who has had a big day, 3 for 4, takes again, and it's ball 2. Miller with a double, a home run, and a double.
And what we sincerely hope will be his last at bat.
The only way that Boston can hit again would be for the Phillies to tie it with 7 runs in the 9th.
But this kind of season, I thought the games Friday night and Saturday, which were pretty good ball games, but they were a microcosm of what has happened to the Mets this year. Unable to get men home from third base, just unable to produce offensively when they really needed to.
That's losing 5 to 4 and 1 to 0 in those 2 ball games. Phillies playing 63 one-run ball games. And there's another base hit for Keith Miller, his 4th. And he will close out the season with a 4 for 5 day. Of course, there is the possibility that they could hit around and Boston and Miller would have another shot at it.
That's true. I like that possibility better than the other one.
Of the 2, you'll take the latter.
About the tied score.
Mets with 12 hits in the ball game, and now Howard Johnson with a chance to tack on another RBI. He leads the National League. And runs batted in, and he drives it on the line to the shortstop. Batiste, a double play, and that will end the inning as Johnson lines out in his final at-bat. 1 run on the home run by Darrell Boston, 2 hits, and nobody left on base, and the Mets leading by a score of 7-0 as we go to the bottom of the 9th after this word from Aid Auto Parts.
Well, some David Cohn fans here today. I think they're running out of pieces of paper there with 17 strikeouts for David. You see those cone heads out there on the scoreboard with a sign that says, "Let's go Mets, let's go Phillies, let's go baseball, let's play 2."
Just got back from Bali, Frank. That's not a bad place to be right now. And David Cohn needs 3 strikeouts to tie the Major League record of 20. He has 17, and he starts off against Batiste with a curveball and gets a strike. Batiste has struck out 3 times. And it's strike 2.
2 times with balls out of the strike zone. First 2. Last time he got him on a low fastball that was over the plate. Let's see if he goes high outside to him again. David's a smart pitcher, and Charlie O'Brien is a very smart catcher, so I think that's where they're pitching. Yeah, he
And he
set up
got it.
outside and got him.
18 strikeouts, and David Cone needs 2 more to tie the Major League record.
Here's a look at those last 2 pitches. Here it goes. He's got strike 1. All right, strike 2. Outside corner of the plate. Now he goes up and out. Up and out. There he goes. Got him swinging.
And the batter is Mickey Morandini, who has not struck out.
Oh, he's a tough little hitter, contact hitter. Played on the Olympic team in 1988, this young man did.
The only batter in the lineup not to strike out other than the pitcher. And the count 1 ball and 1 strike. Andy Ashby, the pitcher, fouled out in his 1 at bat. And there is a pitch for a ball, and it's 2 balls and 1 strike.
We're up here reciting these litany of records, and I wonder if David Cohen knows really that he's got a chance to match the all-time strikeout record.
I got to believe he does. Somebody's got to have told him if he didn't know it by himself.
You think Jay Horwitz went down and whispered in his ear between innings?
Go get him. 3-1 the count. And 3-2. So Cone with a chance to tie the National League record of 19 strikeouts. Count of 3 balls and 2 strikes, and Morandini, who has walked, popped his second and single. Cone has given up only 2 hits, and the pitch in the dirt, and he got him, and he ties the National League record of 19 strikeouts, and if that hadn't been completed at first base, he could have another shot. Why did he throw the ball to first?
Ralph, you literally don't know how to root. At last, anywhere, he got 3 easy outs, and we're all saying, oh, it's too bad he didn't get a strikeout.
Well, you know, you got to have your priorities, and you love to see records established, and that does tie the National League record of 19 strikeouts in a 9-inning ball game. Now Wes Chamberlain, who has struck out 3 times, and Cone needs a strikeout to tie the Major League record.
Here's that last strikeout against a tough little batter.
And a good curveball. It's strike 1. I think you got to walk the guy, all the guys, till you get to somebody you think you can strike out, so he can tie the record. It's fun to be able to root this way. And this one down the line, it'll be a base hit, and it will be an extra base hit, a grounds rule double, as Chamberlain doubles to right. And Cone still has a shot.
Chamberlain came late on that fastball, but made contact, and therefore the ball went down the right field line into the pavilion down there for a ground rule double. One of the better hitters in baseball, I suppose, still is Dale Murphy, who was struck out twice in 3 trips. He fouled out to the first baseman the other time.
This will be the first year that Murphy has not struck out 100 times in a season in his Major League career.
I didn't realize that. That is unique.
And he can be the 19th make it a strikeout victim. Could be the 20th strikeout victim, I should say. And that would give him the tie for the Major League record. And the curveball for ball 2. 2 balls and no strikes. A strike. It's 2-1.
There's that last pitch again. Take a look at this strike, a breaking ball.
Murphy has struck out 93 times this year. And the count 2 balls and 1 strike, and it's hit on the ground to shortstop, and the throw to first ends the ball game and ends the chance for David Cone to have 20 strikeouts and to tie the Major League record. He did get 19 at times, the National League record, and the Mets win it by a score of 7-0. David Cone with his 2nd shutout of the year. His other a 1-hit shutout. This game he gave up 3 hits, And the season is over.
19 strikeouts, 18 of them swinging. I think from the look of disappointment on David Cohen's face, he knew that record was possible. He didn't get it, but what a magnificent, magnificent pitching performance.
David Cohen ends up with a record of 14 wins and 14 losses. Last year he was 14-10. And the Mets have won the final game of the year, and they close out their year with a record of 77 wins and 84 losses. David Cohen, the winning pitcher. The loser was Andy Ashby, who started. His record now 1-5, and we'll be back with a wrap-up right after this word from Bud Light. The Mets won it by a score of 7-0. A 3-hit shutout for David Cohen. Of course, he's tied the National League record with 19 strikeouts. And Frank Cashin, what a performance on the final day of the year. It just came a little bit late.
As good a pitching performance as I've probably ever seen myself. Did come on the last day in a way after the Mets were out of the pennant race, but nevertheless, just a magnificent performance. 18 of the 19 strikeouts were swinging strikeouts.
That's amazing, and he really had a great curveball and great fastball today, tying the National League record that is held by Steve Carlton and Tom Seaver. Tom Seaver did it for the New York Mets, and here are some of the strikeouts, and as you said, 18 of the 19 strikeouts swinging.
You know, David had incredible stuff today. Every one of his pitches. The Philadelphia Phillies, no runs on 3 hits, no errors. So well-played ball game, a quickly played ball game. Outstanding pitching performance by David Cohen.
And David Cohen, of course, missing the Major League record of 20 strikeouts set by Roger Clemens when he struck out 20 Seattle batters. And that was, of course, the all-time high. So the Mets winning the final game of the year here in Philadelphia, and as they say in Brooklyn, Frank, wait till next year.
Yeah, I think the Mets are going to be back. I really do. I think they're going to be back and back strong next year. Al Harrison's going to get himself a new manager, and we're going to make some trades and sign some free agents, and I'm already looking forward to 1992.
Well, about 5 months to go, and you'll be teeing it up in the ballpark at, where do the Mets open? They open at home or away?
I open in St. Louis next year, but we'll be back up to play the Yankees in that pregame series for the good of your youth baseball within New York. Great kickoff for baseball in New York in the 92 season.
And, of course, the Budweiser player of the game is David Cohen, as he pitched a 3-hit shutout, his second shutout of the year. No other Met pitcher pitched a shutout. And David Cohen with the 19 strikeouts to tie a National League record. And for that effort, Budweiser will donate $100 to Bacchus, a national collegiate on-campus student initiative working to prevent alcohol abuse. Budweiser and Bacchus, another example of how people working together can take alcohol abuse head-on and make a difference. And when we come back from our commercial, we'll be talking to David Cohen about that record performance, as he had 19 strikeouts to tie a National League record, right after this message. Well, the Mets win it by a score of 7-0, and David Cohen is on with us. And David, congratulations on a fantastic performance. Were you thinking about the 20 strikeouts to tie the Major League record?
Well, thanks a lot, Ralph. And yeah, I was aware of it. Everybody on the bench, Larry Boa, the third base coach for the Phillies, was keeping me in touch with the running tally. He told me when I had 15 and 17, and I don't know if he was trying to jockey me a little bit, but I was well aware of where I was.
What about the last out, Dale Murphy, a fellow that you struck out twice already in the ball game, and were you yelling for the shortstop to throw it away or drop it or anything like that?
Well, the thought went through my mind, yes. I think I heard a few guys in the dugout yelling to drop it, but it's so tough to get that last one. It's tough to get strikeouts when you start thinking about it. After the 15th, I thought, oh no, I'm thinking too much about strikeouts, and I was fortunate to, after I think it was the 7th inning, I didn't get one, and then the 8th and 9th, I came back strong.
18 of the 19 strikeouts were swinging. Did you realize that?
Now that you mention it, yeah, I guess so. Maybe that has something to do with the last day of the season, but I thought, I established a strike zone early, so maybe that had something to do with it too.
Well, he really did.
You got a lot of those strikeouts with pitches out of the strike zone, actually, but your ball was moving. All your pitches were working for you today.
Yeah, that's the key. I think early on I established a good fastball, and then especially on the outer half of the plate, there was a lot of right-handed hitters today. And I think once you can do that, then you can go a little bit off the plate and get them to entice them to go for strikes or pitches that aren't strikes.
Anything about this ball game that taught you anything? Did you when you strike out and tie a record like this, 19 strikeouts in the National League, tying a record by Seaver and Carlton, there's something that might have fallen in place for you at all?
Well, I'd like to think so. I had one stretch that was pretty disappointing this year, and I wanted to finish strongly, and I think I've done that. You always want to finish as best as you can. We play for pride. I enjoy being on the Mets. I'm disappointed at where we finished, but the best you can do is to go out there and try to finish with some pride. And maybe I can take this game and have a carryover effect into next year.
Well, you had that one hitter earlier in this month, or actually in September, and that had to be a good win for you there.
Yeah, it really was. It's tough. I was one hit there away from history, and today, I guess, tying the record is no shame to be with Tom Seaver and Steve Carlton, but to have that chance at the 20th was really exciting, and I'm a little disappointed, but then again, 19, what can you say?
When you think of all the great pitchers, Sandy Koufax, one of them that comes to mind, and they never struck out 19. It is a tremendous accomplishment.
Well, thanks a lot, Ralph. It's something I'll always remember.
All right, and David Cohn, and we'll be right back right after this word from Manufacturers Hanover. Well, the Mets won it by a score of 7-0, and Frank, it's always a pleasure to have you with us on the broadcast, and it's been a tough year for you, I know, but wait till next year.
That's true, and I think we're going to have a good ball club next year. I know you're off to Palm Springs, and Diane will have a warm meal waiting for you when you get there late tonight.
I'll be there about 10:30, so it'll be a little cold, I think, by then.
I enjoyed working with you. It's always a pleasure. Thank you, Ralph.
Frank Cashin, who was sitting in for Tim McCarver, and we want to thank, of course, Jeff Mitchell, our producer, Steve Obama, who also assists, and Kiner's Corner is brought to you by Budweiser, the king of beers, with that clean, crisp, cold taste. Nothing beats a Bud. And by NatWest Banks, raising the standards of banking. And by Mitsubishi, bringing you a full line of award-winning automobiles. See them all at your Mitsubishi Motors dealers. Well, hi, and welcome to Kiner's Corner here in Philadelphia. Our special guest, Howard Johnson, of course, Howard having one of the great years in the history of the New York Mets, and a candidate for the MVP honors in the National League, certainly the MVP of the New York Mets. And Howard, of course, not playing with a winning ball club. The votes won't be going all your way, and that's got to be a disappointment, as the Mets will not be in contention.
Well, that's, MVP would be a nice thing to get, but I'm really more interested in us winning on the field, and when you don't win, it takes away, and I can understand how the voting goes to usually a guy from a winning ball club.
One of the things that you have always done this year, in spite of the fact that the Mets dropped out of the race early, is work hard at everything that you ever did out there, and it's a thing that you have to be commended for, certainly a real attribute when it comes to the type of personality you are.
Well, I appreciate it, Ralph. It's I just feel a sense of responsibility, when I walk on the field, when I walk in the clubhouse, that I want to give everything I have to the Mets, and I want to be the best ball player I can become. And, as a Christian, that's part of my duty, to the Lord, really, is to go out there and play every day, the dedication that I feel like I should be putting out. And, for that reason, when the season's over with, then I know I've done the best I can. And if you get awards or you don't get awards, it really doesn't matter.
Well, the most important thing is to do the best you can and to do it all the time, and you certainly do that. We'll be back to talk some more with Howard in just a moment, right after this message from Budweiser.
Rusty Staub for Budweiser.
When your friendly bartender slides a cold Bud across the bar to you, he's completing the final step in a quality control system that began in a field of golden barley. From the selection of the finest natural ingredients, to the slow, careful brewing and aging process, to the guys who take it off the trucks and put it on the shelves. Every step a Budweiser takes before it gets to you has only one objective: to put the freshest, highest quality product possible into your hands. So the clean, crisp, cold taste of the king of beers is something you can always count on. Budweiser's commitment to quality doesn't end when the beer rolls out the brewery gates. They ask for that same commitment from wholesalers and the distributors and retailers to make sure all that quality is carefully delivered right to you. When they say somebody still cares about quality, they're talking about everybody who helps bring you Budweiser. After all, New Yorkers, this Bud's for you.
Well, our special guest, Howard Johnson, of course, the top player for the Mets this year by a big margin. Howard, the player of the week, I should say the player of the month in September, batting .296, 10 home runs, 28 runs batted in, 27 runs scored, and 10 stolen bases. Second time you've won that award, the player of the month. And Howard, you really came on strong in the month of September when it was very tough for the ball club to play. You had nobody hitting either behind you or ahead of you. Those are important facets that contribute to a hitter's strength, and you did it all on your own.
Well, it certainly helps when you got, real quality hitters around you. And, we've had guys in and out of the lineup with injuries and stuff, and it's been hard on everybody. And, I just wanted to finish up strong this September. I'm usually, that September hasn't been my best month in recent years. And so this year, when things were going well, I really wanted to finish up strong and, at least put a good month together and, just finish the year out well. It'd be a shame really to come this far and not finish up, on a good note.
Well, you will certainly, or have certainly done that. The 30-30 Club, a member for the third time. Only one other player has done it more, and that's Bobby Bonds, who was a member of 30 stolen bases, 30 home runs in the year. 5 times. You have done it 3 times, and nobody else has ever done it more than twice. And in Pittsburgh, they didn't give you a stolen base under circumstances that certainly you were entitled to one. How'd you feel about that when they said that was not a stolen base, number 30?
Well, I didn't find out until I came back in off the field, and Millsy came up to me and he said, "You got to get another one." And I was a little surprised, and then Jay said that he was gonna talk to him, and the score was gonna go down and talk to Jimmy Leland and try and get the call right. And I understand the rule and everything. It just didn't apply in that situation, but to get there was something I was definitely shooting for. It's I didn't want to build my whole season around it, but we were out of the race, and I felt like it was within my reach, and I figured I'd go out and give it my best shot. And I ran a lot, maybe in some situations I normally wouldn't run, but I felt like something to give a good try for.
Well, you certainly did that. You did get credit for that stolen base, as the decision was in your favor after the ball game. So a member of the 30-30 Club, and of course the home run champion of the National League, and that's something to be really proud of. And it should be a good winter for you.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, it's been a good year, and I'm happy everything worked out well. I'm just really concerned about next year and getting in as best shape as I can be, and so when I come to spring training, I'll be ready. And I'm looking forward to playing the outfield, and I think it's going to help me a lot offensively. And I really want us to get back on top, which is, I feel, where we belong, and really contend for the whole year.
What would happen if you went back to the infield again? Would that be a disappointment?
Well, I think the situation is really up to me, and at this point, I don't foresee that. I'd really like to stay in the outfield. I think that's better for me, especially at this time in my career where I'm starting to get up there in age, and I really don't want to give up any part of my game. And I found one thing playing the infield that does take away from you physically, and it does inhibit you as far as your running ability and getting tired late in the year. So I think it's something that I'm really willing to do, and I think it'll help me.
Howard Johnson, the Mets Player of the Year, and certainly one of the great years for any ball player in the history of the game. Howard, congratulations again on a fantastic year, and good luck and have a nice winter.
Thanks a lot, Ralph. Appreciate it.
Howard Johnson will be back right after this message from Mitsubishi. Well, like painted kites, those days and nights go flying by, and the 1991 season is behind us now. And the Mets, of course, started the season with high hopes and ended the season really on a downside. And let's take a look at some of the parts of that 1991 season.
Could it be gone? It's back. It's going, gone. Goodbye. Hilby Brooks wins it with a home run, and the Mets with a dramatic victory.
Coleman leads the majors with 16 steals. He's been caught 5 times.
Monetarily, it doesn't matter. I go out there and play for a penny. I go out there and I want to be the best pitcher in baseball. I don't care who's going up against me. I'm going to challenge anybody. So it doesn't come down to that. It just it's the comfort zone, and I just didn't feel comfortable taking that number right at the present time.
Hockey's risen. Doc Gooden. 1-on-1. The 2-2 pitch on the way. Struck him out, and Gooden ends the ball game with his 14th strikeout, and the Mets win it 5-3.
I can't remember a game here being called by Paul here at Shea Stadium, but it's happened in San Francisco.
This could be gone. It's way back. It's going. It is gone. Goodbye. Mackey Sasser puts the Mets within 1. This ball hits the deep left field. Going back is Mitchell. It's by the wall. It is gone. Goodbye. A tie ball game on back-to-back pinch hit home runs by the New York Mets.
If I was cheered here, it would mean a great deal to me. I would be very gratified to know that I was appreciated for a lot of things that I accomplished in New York.
Butler, the runner at third, has good speed, and the first pitch to Strawberry hit off the hands out toward shortstop. The throw to first base is in time, and there's the ball game.
And now the batter is Mike Socha. He grounds it to the first baseman. Magadan goes to short, throws it away. Another error and a run will score as the Mets defense has gone away.
Line back at Gooden. It hit him in the left hand, and Doc Gooden's glove came off, and oh, brother.
We had to give up Timmy Tuffle, who was one of the class guys, class people in the organization, and you always hate to do that.
Swinging a drive, deep right field. Is it fair? Foul ball. Oh, baby. That brought a few people out of their seats as Darrell Boston teases the Mets dugout.
He's got a real bad pull. Sprinter's pull.
Oh, that does not look good for the New York Mets if they lose Vince Coleman, who has generated so much for the Mets with his stolen bases.
Bases loaded, 2 outs. Hit deep to left field. Back is Braggs. Home run, Howard Johnson. A grand salami. 5-2, New York.
That's going to be all for the doctor. This is one of his worst outings ever. Struck him out. And that is the ball game. And the Mets winning streak now goes to 9 straight ball games.
Change hit down the left field line, and it's gone. Home run, Bobby Bonilla, and the Pirates lead it 7-1.
The Pirates, no matter what, home runs or blue base hits or bunts, continue against the New York Mets.
The purpose of this meeting is really to confirm what has been planned for some period of time, which is for me to turn over the general manager duties of this ball club to Al Harrison.
Another chapter in the book of the Mets has been written, and it has been closed.
Ground ball towards short. It could end it. Elster Miller back to Donalds, and that does. John Franco was saved number 30 on the year, and Frank Viola wins his first game since August 8th. And Mike Cubbage is 1-0 as a manager. And he's all smiles.
Well, as they always have said in Brooklyn in the days of the Brooklyn Dodgers, wait till next year. And we'll be right back after this from Zenith. And our final look at the Mitsubishi scoreboard, the scores of the games played in the National and the American League, the final games of this 1991 season. Well, we have with us Frank Cashin and Dan Castellano. Dan, of course, the writer for the Newark Star-Ledger. And Frank, I guess you got something special for Dan here on his last day.
Do, Ralph. Danny has been the beat writer for that paper for the last 12, 13 years, and he is going to give up that job as of the end of this year. We'll still be covering baseball, but he's been a long-time great newspaper man, and besides that, a very special friend. So on behalf of our ubiquitous public relations man, Jay Horowitz, and all of us here at the Mets, Danny, we would like to have you give to you this special Met watch.
Thank you. But what I want to know is if I come back next year, do I have to give it back to you?
No, Danny, it's yours for life.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Now, when you say if you come back now, you're not retiring. You're going to be around a while.
No, I'm not retiring. My situation is kind of like Frank's. I'll still be here. I'll probably be doing home games for the Yankees and the Mets. I'm just trying to cut down on travel, that's all.
Well, that's something all of us would like to do. There's no doubt about that. Well, thank you very much, Frank.
Thank you. Danny, best of luck always.
Thanks, Frank.
And we'll be right back after this message from Budweiser. Well, as Yogi Berra said, it's not over till it's over. Well, it is over. The 1991 season is behind us, and we look forward to 1992. We certainly want to thank our sponsors, Mitsubishi, Budweiser, and NatWest Banks, for their support throughout this 1991 season. I also want to thank our producer, Steve Obama, who has done such a great job for us on Kiner's Corner, and also our director, Jeff Mitchell. So all the cameramen, all the people that help make this show so much fun to do, and we're looking forward to 1992. So that's it for this year. Kiner's Corner has been brought to you by Budweiser, the king of beers. With that clean, crisp taste, nothing beats a Bud. By NatWest Banks, raising the standards of banking. And by Mitsubishi, bringing you a full line of award-winning automobiles. See them all at your Mitsubishi dealers. My guests receive a Boulevard Quartz clock from your fine gift and jewelry department store, a tradition in gift-giving for all occasions. Boulevard, it's America's time at your fine gift and jewelry department store. And the Yashica Zoom Tech 90 autofocus 35mm power zoom camera, compact, lightweight, everything's automatic, features remote control with optional infrared transmitter. Yashica Zoom Tech 90, a touch of the future. Kiner's Corner has been directed by Jeff Mitchell and produced by Steve Obama. And we'll see you in 1992. So long, everybody.